is on the victory stand.
In Italy's Serie A, Fiorentina ace striker Gabriel Battistuta has scored a memorable hat-trick to keep alive his side's hopes of winning their first title in 30 years. Battistuta remains the league's top goal poacher after Fiorentina's demolition of Cagliari. Elsewhere, Bologna pulled off the upset of the round by thumping Inter Milan. Lazio shocked Parma with a 3-1 away win. While the woes of Juventus continued, the defending champions held to a draw by bottom-placed Venezia. But we start our roundup with AC Milan, who were looking to reproduce the form that saw them dominate European club football during the early 90s.
Argentinian Guillermin Pietro was in party mood, the $5.6 million signing, scoring AC Milan's first and then provided Bierhoff with his 8th goal of the season. Perugia's Nakata made it 2-1, goalkeeper Rossi red-carded. Roma is searching for a UEFA Cup spot next season, and against Venezia, Marco Del Vecchio helped things along. But it was Guattieri who put the issue beyond doubt. Roma now equal 5th on the league ladder. A defensive mix-up saw Juventus on the ropes, Fonseca saving them from certain embarrassment. And finally, Bologna may no longer have Robbie Baggio, but they do have Giuseppe Signori, who became the city's new favourite son after his penalty conversion against Inter. When Fontalan made the most of a defensive mix-up, the rout was complete. Signori's 130th career goal, confirming him along with Robbie Baggio as one of Italy's greatest forwards of the past decade. To the table now, and Inter's loss to Bologna drops them to equal 5th place with Roma. Parma remain in contention for a Champions League berth despite their loss to Lazio, but it's Fiorentina who now rule the roost at the top of the Serie A ladder with a 3-point lead. In Spain, Atletico Madrid were looking to make it league victory number 8, but all they got from Real Madrid's Mijatovic was a lesson in finishing. Atletico hasn't won at the Bernabeu Stadium in 7 years, and Morientes kept that record intact, his 2 goals guaranteeing Real a 4-2 win. And in Seville, Real Betis found themselves on the receiving end of a Barcelona goal spree, Spanish international Luis Enrique clinching their 2nd goal before Guardiola's free kick wrapped it up 3-0.
And Barca's win puts them 3rd on the Spanish league table, ahead of Real Madrid on goal difference, but still 3 points adrift of league leaders Celta Vigo and 1 behind Mallorca. In the English Premier League, just 1 game overnight with newly promoted Charlton Athletic coming from behind to draw with Newcastle United.
After 8 successive Premiership defeats, Charlton went into this afternoon's game knowing a 9th would increase the likelihood of an instant return to the nationwide league they left behind last season. But it took just 14 minutes for Newcastle, themselves enduring another season of underachievement, to take the lead through Timur Ketspire. Early in the second half, the Georgian then set up a Peruvian for Newcastle's 2nd, and Alberto Solano supplying the finishing touch. It was an old-fashioned English-style goal that put Charlton back in the game, Mark Bright heading home. Charlton couldn't have left the equaliser any later, Swede Martin Pringle scoring with literally the last kick of the game.
And checking the English Premier League table, Chelsea stay at the top, 2 points clear of Manchester United. Aston Villa are next and they play Everton tonight our time. Arsenal are on 39 and Leeds make up the top 5. More on the Premier in our weekly wrap at 8 o'clock tonight, 7:30 in Adelaide. After the Northern Spirit's success in the National Soccer League, another Sydney-based consortium is aiming to join the competition next season. The Parramatta Leagues Club will be a majority shareholder in the new venture, with the move putting extra pressure on Sydney United to prove their financial viability.
Parramatta are hoping to soar with the Eagles in the NSL, and Soccer Australia have been told they're ready to fly next season. Parramatta Leagues Club will contribute $1.5 million in the first 3 years. Former National League club Parramatta Eagles and former MP Gary Punch make up the local backers. The consortium is searching for a British club to also come in on the deal. If successful, the club will play their home games here at Parramatta Stadium. The supporter base will be drawn from the surrounding areas of Granville, the Hills District, Parramatta and Blacktown, not to mention 28,000 paid-up members of the Parramatta Leagues Club. There's no doubt as well that the demise of Sydney United will work strongly in the favour of the bid being accepted by Soccer Australia.
A big part of me hopes that Sydney United survive because they've produced so many great quality players for Australian soccer, and in that sense they deserve to survive. But the future is clearly with non-ethnic specific clubs that have backing of major institutions.
Some of the on-field subtleties of soccer are still to be learned, but Northern Spirit's debut has the league's club confident of business success.
That's been a further confidence builder for us, the fact that their crowds have been so good, despite the fact that they weren't all that successful early on in the season. So I think that we should be able to at least match what they've done as long as we get a competitive team, a similar level at what they are.
In terms of Soccer Australia's master plan, you're really looking at a Perth Glory or a Northern Spirit for the western suburbs of Sydney.
Paul Williams, SBS Sport.
Perth Glory have squandered a chance to go top of the NSL ladder after a shock 1-0 home loss to Wollongong. Checking other results from round 15, Sydney United moved to third place with victory over the Sharks, Canberra won their first point of the season, and Carlton demolished the Knights.
Carlton took on the inexperienced Melbourne Knights, needing a victory to cement their place in the top six. Some woeful defending costing the Knights dearly. Joe Tricarico tapped in Carlton's opener, but the visitors drew level before the break when Ivan Kelic slotted home his 100th NSL goal.
From Kelic, 100, baby! 100!
The Knights were exposed again in the 47th minute. This time they didn't recover. Alex Moreira made it 2-1. The Brazilian striker extending Carlton's lead on the hour.
There's a chance and Moreira buries it, baby!
Olyroos goalkeeper Joe Didalika conceded a fourth after fumbling David Savinsky's shot. Andrew Marth was quick to pounce, but the same can't be said about the Knights. Jelko Souza's goal arriving too little, too late. Meanwhile, Canberra have finally ended a 17-match losing streak, including 4 defeats last season. Peter Bullion gave the Cosmos the lead away to Gippsland, but the home side equalised through Levent Osman in the dying stages. It finished 1-1, Canberra's first point this season.
Yeah, some interesting results at the halfway mark of the National Soccer League, and as always on Monday, I'm joined by former Socceroo captain Johnny Warren. John, welcome again. Good to see you. Some outstanding performances on the weekend, John, notably the Northern Spirit on Friday, and also Olympic playing better than expected.
Yes, they're similar in many respects because the newish teams. I think Northern Spirit were given a lot of stick because they weren't getting the results on the field as they were getting such huge crowds off it. But it takes time to build. But I think now that they've turned the corner, as in fact I believe have Olympic, and these two teams meet next week, so it's going to be a real test of how much both have improved. But for Northern Spirit, the good thing last weekend was that they finally found the back of the net.
And 4 good goals, one of them by the veteran Robbie Slater.
And
4 good goals.
Robbie not a scorer, a creator more than a scorer. But here are their goals against Marconi. And to get 3 in the first half, there's no love lost between these two teams for lots of reasons, particularly as so many Northern Spirit players did play with Sydney United. And Sydney United Marconi, of course, was the derby game out of Sydney. But finally they've got the goals in, the confidence comes up, and of course it's a nice problem now with the likes of Zane coming back from probably being available next week. He was away with the Olyroos, and again their clash with Olympic next week is a real crunch game to see how far both Olympic and Northern Spirit have improved, built their teams gradually.
And Olympics Pablo Cardoso in good form too.
He is. He was the leading scorer, you remember, last year before he went to trial with Rapid Vienna. And this goal yesterday, after hitting woodwork twice, and there's Pablo scoring. He's now got 11 goals, and at the halfway mark of the season is the leading scorer in Australia.
OK, John, let's have a look at the crowds, because the good news this season, of course, is that crowds are 20% up, but I think we should qualify that a bit. Yeah.
Somewhat. And it's due mainly to, of course, to Northern Spirit and to Perth, but they're up 20% on last season. Perth averaging 16,000 plus, Northern Spirit 14,000 plus. And it's interesting that they have contributed 37% of the almost 600,000 fans who've watched the first half of the season. Now that's an average of 5,900 a game, but if we take out their contribution, we're down to 3,875 per match, which is not very impressive. In fact, it is the lowest since summer soccer, which was a revolution and a revolutionary way for soccer to go in this country. That is the lowest. So while we can gloat a little bit on the crowds, I think the message is there for everyone, of which direction Australian soccer has to go.
Indeed, note of caution for the other clubs. Now, John, just finally, I know you wanted to, you were a bit concerned about the early kickoffs. It's summer soccer, it's pretty hot.
Well, the idea of summer soccer,
Yeah.
Summer soccer is to play in the evening. 5 o'clock kickoffs are not attractive for spectators and certainly not for players. The players run a risk, they cannot perform, and I think the Soccer Australia really has to look at, abandoning this idea of playing games at 5 o'clock. It's not fair to all concerned, particularly to the players.
All right, John, thank you. We'll catch up with you on the ball on Friday.
Okay.
Good to see you. The Atlanta Falcons and the Denver Broncos will meet in next month's annual showpiece of American football, the 33rd Super Bowl. Defending champions Denver clinched the AFC title with victory over the New York Jets, while Atlanta won their first ever NFC championship, rallying from 10 points down in the fourth quarter to beat Minnesota in overtime.
The coin toss handing Atlanta the ball, and the visitors took full advantage on their opening drive. Minnesota's first possession also reaping maximum rewards, Randy Moss completed the play, but the match really took shape in the final quarter. Matthew Hatchett's touchdown gave the Vikings a 10-point lead, and Gary Anderson had this field goal attempt to put the issue beyond doubt. That miss proving costly in the end, a Terrence Mathis touchdown helping the Falcons level the tie at 27-all. Then, in overtime, Morton Anderson's field goal sealing Atlanta's first ever trip to the Super Bowl. For coach Dan Reeves, still recovering from quadruple heart bypass surgery, a defining moment in more ways than one.
If I can handle this with my heart, I can handle anything.
The Denver Broncos showed their fighting qualities after trailing 10-0 at one stage against the New York Jets. The Broncos scoring their first points of the match in the third quarter. After that, there was no stopping the defending NFL champions. Denver won 23-10, clinching their fifth AFC crown and second consecutive trip to the Super Bowl.
Even though we made a number of mistakes and picked it up when we had to, and that's a sign of an excellent football team. When they do have adversity, they can step up and make the plays like we made it.
And rest easy, SBS will have all the live action from the Super Bowl starting at 10 a.m. on Monday, February the 1st, as defending champions Denver take on the Atlanta Falcons. Don't miss it. Well, good results for Australian skiers overnight, with Zeke Stegel taking a bronze medal at the Men's World Border Cross Championships in Germany, and Jackie Cooper winning her second successive World Cup aerial event at Steamboat Springs in Colorado. Meantime, the European Bobsled Championships have been a great success for the host nation, with Germany's Christoph Langen leading the four-man team to victory ahead of Switzerland.
Christoph Langen is the new European champion in the four-man bob, the Formula One of winter events. The home fans in Winterberg were ecstatic when the Germany 1 team crossed the finishing line with an overall time of 1 minute and 48.83 seconds. Langen, with his crew of Sven Rühr, Thomas Platzer and Markus Zimmermann, took his 5th European title. It made up for his disappointing 4th-place finish Saturday in the two-man event. Still weakened by a bout of the flu, Langen found the four-man easier than the two-man bob.
Right now, the four-man event is good for me. I don't have to do that much. I've got 3 strong people to count on when we start, and that's how it works. I'm just so happy right now. Today was the first time Sven Rühr was the brakeman, and it worked just fine. He's solid.
Marcel Rohner's 2nd place, following 2 Swiss medals in the two-man bob on Saturday, made it a good weekend for Switzerland too. Rohner, who's now 2nd in the overall World Cup standings, also seemed to like the four-man event more. He explained why.
The team dynamics, 4 people and precise training. We were all on the same wavelength and get along together. Those are the factors involved.
Defending European champion team leader Harald Zudai's 3rd-place tie with the Austrian team, led by Wolfgang Stampfer, was good enough to keep the German in the running for the World Cup in Cortina. At the Biathlon World Cup in Bavaria's Ruhpolding, Raphael Poiré of France won the 12.5-kilometre pursuit. Shooting flawlessly, Poiré moved up brilliantly from his 15th-place starting position. Rico Gross of Germany managed to preserve a slight lead over Sven Fischer to finish 2nd in his hometown. Fischer maintains the overall lead in the World Cup.
Finally tonight, the inaugural Tour Down Under begins tomorrow in Adelaide. featuring some of the best names in world cycling. Top European teams will line up against the best in Australia, as Michael Tomalaris reports.
The Tour Down Under has attracted cycling's big guns to Adelaide, many of whom today made their first public appearance in Australia. It's a new event which will take on the traditions of the European classics. For some, a tour of this magnitude has been a long time coming.
But this is going to be an awesome event, the biggest in Australia by far.
It's unbelievable. I never would have imagined that we could get Laurent Jalabert and Eric Zabel to Adelaide.
But it's the lure of the Australian summer that's brought many of the world's top professionals down under. While Europe is currently covered in a blanket of snow, temperatures of up to 35 degrees can be expected for the 6-day tour. That means plenty of opportunity to prepare for a new season.
Zabel's phoning home, Laurent Gelabert's phoning back, saying the weather here is sensational. We're doing 200 kilometres every other day. It's magnificent. So, it's a real plus for the event.
Stuart O'Grady's success at last year's Tour de France has also been credited for the array of talent on show this week.
I may have influenced a few guys. They obviously think that the training can't be that bad here if we come here all the off-season and then, come back to Europe with pretty good form. So I think they're pretty keen to get over here and suss out what we do.
O'Grady will again partner Henk Vogels in their first official appearance in the colours of French team Crédit Agricole. But the mood among the riders is generally very relaxed. Although Laurent Jalabert won 13 races in 1998, he chose not to finish the drug-tainted Tour de France. But the world's second highest ranked rider says there's no pressure to perform in 1999. Mike Tomalaris, SBS Sport.
And before we go tonight, another winner in our Toyota cricket competition. We asked who was the last foreign-born player to represent Australia in Test cricket, and Chris Salomovich of Moe in Victoria correctly told us that it was Kepler Wessels. Congratulations, Chris. A cricket pack will be on its way to you shortly. A quick correction from earlier in our Australian Open tennis reports. Todd Woodbridge was beaten by Switzerland's Marc Rosset and fails to progress in the tournament. Bad luck for him. And that's all we have tonight in Toyota World Sports, but join me in half an hour for all the Premier League action. For the sports team, I'm Les Murray. Good night.
Stay ahead of the world game. For the latest international and local results, scores and news from the world of football, dial the SBS Soccer hotline on 1900 922 333. That's 1900 922 333.